Good morning everybody. This is my attempt at being professional. I've taken a quick break from the desk. It's still quite dark outside, but I've got the light now, which is good. So, what have I done since the last video? Nothing. I've turned the bike around. But what I'm about to do is, this is the old chain. So I'm just going to see, before I break out a new chain, and it's not all chains are expensive actually. 30 quid for a chain is probably quite criminal, but because this chain only had 300 and a bit miles on, I just want to check if it's going to fit first. If not, if it's too short, I'll break out a new chain. If it's too long, great, I can just take a couple of links out. I doubt it's going to be too long, based on the bike it came from. But the measuring method really is just to wrap it around both rings. So I'm just going to do that now, very gently, because I don't want to have any scratches on my frame, or any grease marks, or anything else. The chain I've cleaned in my favourite cleaning solution, WD-40. Okay, so just going to route this through here. Trying not to get grease on anything. Hopefully you're not just seeing my flabby arm, you're actually seeing content. So we're just going to get because it's 2 outer plates, so I'm going to get the quick link, which you might be able to see, and pop that in over here. Now what I'm going to do is bring that round. Hopefully you can see this, and I have about 2 pins, which is almost bang on the move for a hardtail, to be honest. So that's 1, 2. So yeah, this chain will work. That's brilliant because it means I don't have to go buy another one. But I'm not going to fit this chain yet. I'm actually going to take it off for now, mainly because I want to do brake bleeding next, which basically means rotate the bike around again. Okay, so I'm not going to have time this morning to bleed the brakes, but I'm just going to start preparing. So I'm just going to put the bleed blocks into the calipers. We'll get all the tools out I'm going to need later, the fluids, the the Allen keys, spanners, syringes, everything else. Now, for those that watched my replacing calipers and levers video, will have already seen the bleed process I'm going to do, which is effectively just gravity and suck. I'm going to put a pot of fluid onto the levers, and then I'm just going to draw that fluid through the system, through the caliper by attaching a syringe to the caliper and basically sucking it out. So I'm going to put these in now and get all the stuff out, and that's it. The next thing I'm going to do is just bleed the brakes. Just bear in mind I'm only going to do the 1 brake. Doing 2, look, it's just a repeat of the 1. So first I'm going to level out the lever. Just remember the calipers have got bleed blocks in already, and the pads are miles away, so they've got no contamination. What I'm actually going to do, and this might sound slightly counterintuitive, I'm actually going to remove the caliper. Just makes it a little bit easier, to be honest, in terms of level and getting everything to drop down. So, and that seems counterintuitive, obviously I've already sort of put the caliper on, but if you remember, we only put it on loose just to allow for the sorting of the routing. Now, there should be no fluid in this system at the moment because they were drained out as part of the replacement video. Put that there. Oh, actually that might work. If I just take the clip out, I can hang it down like that. It's a bit more convenient for me. And hopefully you can still see that on the video. No, I'm just going to aim it. Just move this down a bit. So, yep, okay. Right, so at the handlebar end, I'm going to put the funnel. Now when I say funnel, it's one of these Shimano bleed funnels. Looks like this. So I'm going to pop that on there. So I'm going to remove the bolt using a 2.5mm Allen key, because this is Shimano brakes. And I'm going to remember to take out the washer as well, like so. Pop the funnel in, just screw that in. Just be careful with these cups. Okay. Now I'm just going to make sure that the back is shut off, because I can't remember if I did or not, basically. So with my 7mm, I was going to shut off I'm going to take the bleed nipple off and just shut off the valve, the bleed valve, like so. At this point I'm just going to go let my dog in, so I'll be right back. Sorry about the interruption. Now what I'm going to do is fill the pot that I've put on the lever with Shimano's finest brake fluid. I'm going to fill the cap up quite far, about that much, bottoms up. I don't want my dog wants now. Right, so I'm just going to quickly take some of this fluid off my hands. Right, I'm going to take out the little stopper, like so. Right, so part 2. So in part 2, we take the syringe out of the bleed kit, basically looks like that. We hook it round the bleed port, and we basically pull back on the syringe after, sucking all the fluid through. And providing I don't completely mess this up and accidentally like knock the bloody syringe off or something stupid like that, what I should be able to do is just basically pull the fluid through and push it back a bit, and then job be a good one. Now in terms of opening this thing, I've overly tightened up. It's just half a turn, and then you should just be able to suck everything back. So I'm just going to do that now. What you want to do is just keep an eye on the funnel to make sure it's not running dry. And you just keep putting back until you pull all the air out. And that, let's push some of it back through. You never get 100% perfect bleed, no matter what anybody says. That should be enough. So I'm just going to close this off. So sometimes you can just do the first bit by hand. Move that off. I really do hate this job of the hydraulic. I'm happy doing everything else on a bike. When you remove it, just pull back on it a bit while you pull it off. This just stops shit going all over the place. Alright. So quickly wipe everything off. We're going to do a proper wipe down after, you know, we'll get the alcohol spray out and do everything properly, but just want to sort of close it off for now. Okay, come around to the other side, and what we want to do here is initially just squeeze the lever a few times. Just take the just make sure it's wound all the way out. Give this a minute. You should make sure you've wound it all the way out before doing this, but look, we're just bleeding out the top of the system now, so it doesn't really matter. Feels good. Right, so I'm just going to do what they call the burp. We take our Allen key and we just move the brake lever forward and back. It's caught on my dropper lever, so I'm just going to just loosen that off as well. That's so what I should be able to do now. Just knock them both down. You want about a 30-degree angle, 45-degree angle, somewhere between the two. And just do it again, and all you do is just basically pull in the lever a few times at least. If there's any bubbles come out, keep going, but when the bubbles stop, yeah, there's no point keep going. Right, now we're going to do the back position, so what we're going to do is just lift it sort of about there, about 30-degree back. And again, sorry, not the, you have to see my arse for a minute. Right, that's perfect. So I'm going to pop the little stick back in the cup, like so. We'll re-straighten the levering. Like so. Now, with the towel in hand, we're just going to gently remove the funnel, catching any excess, and then we'll pop the top nut back in. I'll put that in the resting position then here. So grab the screw. Just make sure the screw's all nice and clean and stuff, and that you've still got the washer. Put that back in. A little bit of fluid will come out as you try and insert the screw. Not really a big problem, just make sure that you don't cross thread the screw or damage the washer or anything else. Try and get it back in. I'm going to wash everything down with alcohol afterwards anyway, but you know, I just want to make sure everything's as clean as it possibly can through this. So just going to lock that off, and that's it. I mean, at this point you can put the caliper back on, you can put the brake pads back in, but as I'm going to do the front, can't be asked to wash my hands, so I'm going to go boot the front now, and then when I come back we'll do the putting in the brake discs, brake pads, and how to centre up a caliper. So we've blurred both the front and the back now. I've washed everything down with alcohol. I say what, this over alcohol, it's probably not good to breathe in the fumes, but you know, who cares about those, I suppose. Probably get worse in the pub. It's not great for your skin either. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just actually going to install the pads and take out the bleed blocks. So I'm just going to do that on the back now. And I didn't bolt it in all the way, so that should be relatively easy. So we'll take this out. to make sure that's, I felt wet then, just making sure that was alcohol and not, brake fluid. So I'm going to install the pads, right and left, as marked on the back. Let's put them in. I'm hoping you can see this, otherwise I'm doing it for no reason and all you're doing is listening to me rattle on, which is probably very boring. Right, so that's the pads in the back. So the back had an adapter, so the adapter has an arrow, which I need to make sure is pointing towards the front. I've just looked at the battery life indicator on my GoPro as well, so probably need to do this at pace a bit. So which one's the longest screw? It's that one. So let's podge this in. I'm not going to do the calipers up all the way. What I'm going to do is do the calipers tight enough, which is not very tight at all, to allow for alignment. And pretty much like my last brake video, we're just doing the alignment exactly the same way. We'll bang the wheel on, we'll put in an alignment shim, and then do an alignment. I'll show the alignment on the front because my arms will be long enough for that. He's trying to do it from the back whilst, you know, trying to show enough without you basically watching my arse. It's probably going to be quite difficult, so we'll do the front one. Right, tying that in. So when I say just tight enough, basically you don't want it to be wiggling up and down, but you want it to be free to go side to side, which this one almost is. There we go, perfect. Right, I'm just going to pop the clip back in as well. So put that clip back in, the one I took out to allow for the caliper to drop a bit easier. So put the cable clip back in, so I don't lose it. I'm going to move over to the front. I might actually zoom this in now, bear with me a minute. Right, hopefully this gives you a closer view of what we're going to be doing next. So we're just doing the front brake now. Very much what we did to the rear brake. We're just going to pop the pads in. There's my split ring. It's in here somewhere, I just saw it. There it is. So first of all, yeah, we're going to pop out the bleed block, pop the pads in. Just going to grab my 3mm. Again, this has all been washed down. I might have to push the pistons back if I'd worn the previous pads out quite a lot. I hadn't, and I'm actually just putting the previous pads back in, so you know, it's not like I need to reset the wear indicators or anything. Again, these are the metal pads. They've got on the back, left and a right. Left is non-drive side basically, until somebody tells me I'm wrong. Like so. What I'll do is I'll just wiggle the fixing bolt through first, just to align the bracket to the pads. Make sure we got them the right way around. I didn't. Right, so turn that round, podge them in, like so. We get the little bolt, wiggle it, realise that it's not going in because it's fucking moved. Let's try this again. swear at it constantly, it will eventually go in. Podge the screw back in, tighten it up, you don't need to lean on it, and pop the lock ring back on, and then it's popping the bolts back in. Some people do the top one first, some people do the bottom. I'm get the bottom one in sort of person, tends to just leverage it a bit. Sorry, the fucking thing's trying to steer, right. As I've said before with these sort of, whether it's Marzocchi or Fox forks, you can't be too careful threading the brake bolts in, brake caliper bolts. Basically the thread, it's quite a soft aluminium generally, which really doesn't like being over tightened or cross threaded or anything like that, which basically means if you do, you have to re-tap the hole. Now, for those that don't know what re-tapping is, effectively you end up drilling a hole in and then putting a new thread, basically tapping a new thread in. It's an absolute pain in the arse. If you can't do it, then generally a machine shop will do it can do it for you. But probably best just not to get into that situation. Now again, it just needs to be loose enough to allow for side to side movement, but not too much up and down, which that's perfect. So what we do now is I'm going to bash on the front wheel and dig out a shim. So I'll be right back once I've got the wheel on. So as I've tried to show this before, basically you just insert the Birzman tool, look about here. Just be gentle because your caliper's just not really aligned to the disc. So the last thing you want to do is actually damage your disc or caliper or anything else. Now with a small Allen key, you should be able to just podge the Birzman tool right into the middle, like that. Now what you want to do is you just want to move it around a bit. You want to pump the brake a couple of times, not hard, like so, and then clamp on. Hold on. Then do up the nuts. Like so. And now, in theory, I should be able to just drop out the tool by perfect. Tighten the spec up, or to tighten the bolts up to spec, about 10 newton-meters to be honest, on a Fox fork, and then just do the back one. I won't show the back being done obviously because we've done that now, but yeah, next step would be to do the chain and the gears.